All right, let's look at the San Francisco 49ers, and this is a team that finds themselves as the second favorite here in the NFC West. A plus 180 is the best number that you can find on them should you want to bet them to win the NFC West. If you want them to win the whole damn thing, best number you're going to be able to find is 17-1 out there on this 49ers team. We know now this is for sure Trey Lance's team. So that is no question whatsoever. We don't have to worry about that. Bobby Slowick is a pass game coordinator. Chris Forster's the run game coordinator, but we know Kyle Shanahan calls the shots on the offensive side of things. D'Amico Ryan's back as defensive coordinator. And, you know, I don't have to tell you this, Stephen, but for all the Jimmy G talk, and everyone knows I'm a Jimmy G hater and all that, for all the Jimmy G talk, they're 35-16 with him, and they're 8-28 without him. So the numbers do kind of speak for themselves as to what this team is with and without Jimmy Garoppolo on the field. They've made the decision it is going to be without Jimmy Garoppolo this year. It is going to be Trey Lance. What have they done to help him out? Well, look, they signed Travarius Ward on the defensive side of the ball. They signed Oren Burks on the defensive side of the ball. They signed George Odom on the defensive side of the ball. And you're saying, wait a minute, you said to help Trey Lance. But here's the thing. If a, and I'm using air quotes here. I know he's not a rookie, but for all intents and purposes, he's a rookie. I think that you can have a guy that is not constantly playing from behind who can run just the normal offense the way that it's supposed to be run. And I actually think that that is a really good thing, a really big thing for a young quarterback. So I bring up the Ward and the Burks and the Odom, and then even, you know, Kamiko Toure on the defensive line. They did sign. They brought in Robert Kimdichie. If he has anything left in the tank or not, nobody has any idea. Hassan Ridgeway, another couple defensive linemen that may or may not end up making the team, may or may not end up in the rotation there. Ray McLeod at wide receiver, Malik Turner at wide receiver as well, adding to what was already a stellar pass-catching group for this team. Now, they did lose Arden Key, DJ Jones, Laken Tomlinson off that offensive line being gone is certainly a huge deal. Contavious Street and edge rushers gone. Raheem Mostert's out of town. Jaquiski Tart is out of town as well. So it's not like they did all bringing in and nothing was going out. It was a pretty much kind of a one-for-one trade here. But, Stephen, I look at this roster. Didn't have a first-round pick, so they get Drake Jackson, defensive end, in the second round. Tyrion Davis-Price, a running back out of LSU, in the third round. Danny Gray, who's made a couple of preseason plays for them at wide receiver, in the third round as well. So I look at this roster, and like you said, you mentioned we were talking about the Rams. Overall, top to bottom, it's a pretty good-looking roster so long as some of these guys just continue to kind of progress as we have seen over the last couple of years.
It is a Super Bowl roster if they can get Jimmy G production out of Trey Lance. And I think, obviously, they can add some rushing element there and off-script plays that Jimmy G couldn't do. So I think it's, full disclosure, I am a 49ers fan, and I've been trying to figure this out for years of whether or not it's Kyle Shanahan or whether he needs Jimmy Garoppolo, because you mentioned the stat of their record without Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think that's pretty much every NFL team when you get to the backup quarterback short of Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl. So I think there is a level of talent that is required for Kyle Shanahan to start pulling the puppet master strings and get something out of this, because Jimmy G may have been first in the NFL in yards per attempt, but he was 42nd in air yards, which tells you that Shanahan is scripting this up and scheming this up for short and intermediate passes to get the most out of his amazingly good yards after catch pass options in George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. So, and for what it's worth, small sample size, in 71 pass attempts from Trey Lance last year, his yak per completion was at 7.0, which was even higher than Jimmy G's. So I think he is capable of at least operating the same offense that they did with Jimmy, but potentially being better on the deep passes. The 49ers have had a quarterback in the top 5 in expected completion percentage in every Kyle Shanahan season, and that included seasons where they were trotting out Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard. So he is an offensive game planning master, and now we have a situation with Trey Lance where I think the market is down on this guy. The only bet I really found in the 49ers market that I was attracted to was Trey Lance over 3,300 passing yards. If he misses 2 games, that's still only 220 passing yards per game. That's like bottom of the barrel in modern NFL. And the 49ers averaged 237 per game last year. And again, a number that has been reached by a Kyle Shanahan offense in every single season he's been in the NFL, if you go by combined quarterback yardage. They've had more than 4,000 passing yards every season in Kyle Shanahan's tenure in San Francisco. So I think 3,300 for Trey Lance is a pretty low bar to clear here. And I think that he can do enough for this offense with a roster that is Super Bowl ready.
We're looking at the 13th easiest schedule in the league, and you can tell by the Football Outsiders projections as just to the wide range of outcomes due to the play of Trey Lance, because they have them falling 6 to 8 wins in 34% of the simulations. And obviously those would be the, hey, Trey Lance has bad seasons and he's not ready for the NFL seasons. But then they also have them with 9 or more wins, 54% of the time as well. So that would be, oh, never mind, Trey Lance plays as, up to his potential, or at least close to his potential. So those are those simulations. So you can kind of tell pretty wide range of outcomes here for this squad. And so it does come down to the quarterback play, really and truly a ton. I hate like falling to that crutch, but look, he's going to have a decent offensive line. You got a very good tackle combo with Trent Williams grading out as the number 1 tackle out of 83 qualifiers last year. So, hey, you give a young quarterback a great left tackle, that's a pretty good start. We know the receiving core, as we just mentioned. Debo, finally happy. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. What are you going to get from Danny Gray? Even Juwan Jennings is another guy that's going to, could get some action for them as well. It's a really good pass-catching core. The defensive line, bolstered by Nick Bosa, as we know. But, hey, you still have Eric Armstead. You got Drake Jackson. You got Ebukam. You got Hyder. I mean, there's a lot of different guys that can rotate in there to help keep the pressure off of Nick Bosa and allow him to do his thing. And then the secondary should be middle-ish of the pack. I don't think it's going to be extraordinary, but you do add Charvarius Ward, who does a big step up at corner for them. Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett. You got Jimmy Ward at safety. So there are some players there as well. So we've talked about this roster. You talk about Trey Lance. Can he succeed here? I'll tell you the bet that I made, and I think it's a bet that is still a bet that, listen, if you want to have it in your account, it'd be hard for me to talk you off of it on this squad. And I bet Trey Lance for MVP, and I know that seems insanity. The number I did get was a little bit longer than the number that's available now. But even with that, Stephen, I sit here and I take a look. And, again, you can look up all of these different little things. We have the prop finder button right there. If you're doing it from the web, if you're doing it from mobile, just go to odds, and it'll say prop finder tool up there as well. So be sure and click those things to look up. But, I mean, you can find the very best price on any of these players whenever we are trying to get the very best number on these futures bets. You can still find a 40-1 at multiple books. DraftKings, Caesars are out there for Trey Lance to win the MVP. And we talk about, we always want to make bets where there's a clear path to this actually taking place. Well, the way that this takes place is the 49ers overtake the defending Super Bowl champion and win this division. And if that's the case, Stephen, Trey Lance is going to have a very, very big part of that happening. He's going to have a very, very big part of that being a team that has to finish with, let's say the Rams are down, and a down year, air quote, for the Rams is probably going to be 10
They
wins.
get some injuries.
So
that could help.
Yeah, so if they have 10 wins and yet somehow the 49ers come out on top in this division, that means we're talking about a 12-win team more likely than not. So you have a Trey Lance-led 49ers team that went 12-5 in the regular season. He is going to be in the thick of the MVP talk if they go 12-5 and take down the Rams in the NFC West. And so I understand, is it likely? It's not likely, but it's still a very long number. Even today's number, I think mine was at 60, but even at 40, there is a very clear path to this manifesting, and those are the type of futures tickets that I like to have in my account. And again, not out of the realm of possibility for this very talented 49ers team. Like you said, a couple of key injuries here and there on the Rams side of things. And then now we're talking about the 49ers winning this division.
You've kind of summed up exactly what I thought my opinion of this 49ers team was when I first started studying them, is that with changing from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance, the floor is lower, but the ceiling is certainly higher. The range of outcomes is a lot wider with this team. And to your point, They have the talent all around him, and I do think there actually could be some positive regression for the 49ers this season as well. They've been one of the top 10 most injured teams all 5 years under Kyle Shanahan. You would think at some point that's got to go their way. They went 5-5 last year and 13-13 in one-score games the last 3 seasons. And that included 1-5 versus Seattle the last 3 years. So again, reasons why you should be optimistic that they could do better than they've done in the win column in recent years. And for Trey Lance starting out, he caught a break on the schedule because out of the first 6 games, they play the Bears, the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Falcons in 4 of those first 6. And from week 7 onward, the team caught a break in terms of travel. They don't travel east of Arizona from week 7 on. That's pretty fortunate. There are no cross-country west to east trips for the 49ers for the rest of the season going into the postseason. So some reasons to be optimistic for sure. I'm with you, man. I think that I think Trey Lance is more likely to be better than what this offense was with Jimmy Garoppolo because he potentially opens up some rushing attack and he also opens up the deep ball attack, which they absolutely didn't do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, 42nd in air yards was Jimmy Garoppolo last year. So very, very bullish on this 49ers team. And I think if people want to fade Trey Lance and we're getting some favorable spreads early in the season, I'm going to be on that.
Yep. Last thing I'll bring up, just if you did want to, if you are bullish on this 49ers team, and if you do think that this roster lives up to potential, an alt over on this team. If you went with over 11, you're getting right at 2-1 on the over 11. Again, 11-6 pushes you. So I mean, it's not like you're not going to lose if they go 11-6. But if we're talking about they hit the ceiling, like we're talking about, a 12-win season pays you at 2-1. On the win total as well. So just something to throw out there if you are super bullish.
Matt, last note on this team I would just want to mention. Do not forget that this roster was 3 points away from going to the Super Bowl with an injured Jimmy Garoppolo. He had thumb injury in the last 4 games of the season that he was taking shots in to be functional. And then he also picked up a shoulder injury in the last game as well. So don't forget that they were that close to going to the Super Bowl with that much of an injury-flawed quarterback.